This is a version of the informal conclusion. This is a continuation of what we just did with a formal one from the previous video. In this one, the guideline is a little different. For the informal, the smaller the p-value gets, the stronger the evidence is for the alternative. Once again, we can set up this little gauge over here for p-values. So over here, 0 is as small as the p-value can go. And the cutoffs that we're using, at least with the current book that we've got right now, the cutoffs that we would have as percents, I like to think of these as percents. There's a cutoff here at the 1% level. There's a cutoff at the 5% level. And the last cutoff happens to be at the 10% level. What do we say? Depending on which zone our p-value falls into changes what we say our evidence for the alternative hypothesis is. So we're going to start over on that far left side. If our p-value is anywhere here in this what we're making green zone, we get a p-value between 0 and 1%, we would say that this is very strong evidence for our alternative hypothesis. If we're not quite in the green zone, maybe we're over just slightly to the right of that. So this is, for lack of a better color, we could use yellow. If we're in this particular area here, we would say that the evidence is just strong. Then as we move further to the right, any p-values that happen to be between 5 and 10%, we would say that there is merely some evidence. And then finally, as we go past the 10% mark for any p-value, this is the zone where we would simply say there is no evidence or extremely weak evidence. Now again, what we're saying here, all of these are pointing to a statement about the strength of evidence for the alternative. Not for the null, it's the evidence for the alternative statement. So the way to do this is set this gauge up and determine, is it very strong, strong, some, or no evidence? If we go down to the bottom using the same problem we did before, we wanted to test and see if the mean home price in Austin, Texas is more than $300,000. Our null is that it's equal to. So the equal is the word is. Our population mean home price is. Our alternative is that the mean home price is greater than. And now we got a sample. That's what we supposed. Our sample ended up giving us a p-value of 0.02. Where does that fall on our gauge? So every time you get a problem like this, if you're trying to understand informally what's going on, you need to grab this and look at your gauge and decide what zone are you in. Now, you can always turn a decimal into a percent by simply multiplying it by 100 or moving it over 2 units to the right. So ours down here, this 0.02, we could say this is or the equivalent of 2%. What zone does that put us in? Well, 2% is about right here on our gauge. So this is our 2% p-value. What did we say that is? Up here we said that is the word strong. Kind of hard to see because it's light yellow. So what we're saying is this. In our conclusion, to make a brief conclusion about this informally, we would say that there is strong evidence for our alternative. Now the wording here isn't that great. I actually think we need to put more information about it, but that points us in the right direction. What wording should be used? Replace the alternative hypothesis, H sub A, with what it said in your interpretation over here. So there is strong evidence that the population mean home price in Austin is greater than $300,000. So this will help you really get a feel for the two ways of doing it, formally and informally. I'll put one more video up trying to do a difference of two means or a difference of two proportions to show how that would work in its interpretation. Hope these help and have a great day. Bye-bye.